My name is Christina Bobrowsky, aka Stina, and I'm here with Breezeway Productions today. Thank you for joining us, Julie Cavalier. See my name, I automatically go into the French motor that I can't help it. Cavalier, Julie Cavalier. Perfect, right?
Yeah, perfect. I will take it all. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you. It is a beautiful name. It's exotic.
I appreciate that.
And Julie, we'll just stick with Julie for now.
Yeah, like I say, friends and cupcakes call me Jules. So
Oh, that's cute. I like jewels. It's nice. It's like like a jewel, like ruby or a diamond, right? I like that.
just
So, all right. Well, what
my
brought us
toddler in
here?
the background.
Is that what I heard? I thought I heard something. I didn't want to comment. Oh,
Yeah. The Zoom filters are no match for him.
What's his name?
His name is Teo.
Teo. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay. So, tell Teo we're talking about Tribeca over here.
Yeah, I will. Tell him cool down.
Cool down, Teo. You'll get your turn.
Yeah, right.
So what brought us here is Reimagined, which just filmed at Tribeca. How cool! How excited are you about Tribeca? First off,
I'm a New York native. I'm very excited. It's been happening in my backyard essentially as long as I can remember. So it was really a huge honor to have the world premiere of Reimagined Volume 2 Mahal happen at Tribeca. So we're really excited about it. Yeah, it was really fun, bouncing all over the city and participating in all of the events and just like I said, having our world premiere in our backyard.
and you did the red carpet, and all your cast and crew were there, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was exciting to have some of our cast and some of the artists and our art director who worked on the project flew in, and our animators, because it is a VR animation series. So that was really special. And the co-creator of the series who directed Volume 2, Michaela Chernosky Holland, is also lives in New York. So that was really a fun moment for both of us.
Well, congratulations. That's like enormous privilege, Tribeca. I mean, you really made it in my eyes at that point. That's congratulations. Congratulations. I mean, I saw you've been to others like Sundance and others, but that being in New York, you know how it goes.
Yeah, it's really exciting. Reimagined Volume 1, Nisa, which was our premiere volume, I wrote and directed. That premiered at the Venice International Film Festival, which was amazing in a different way. But there was something very cool about bringing the series back to New York where it started.
When did the whole project start? When did Reimagined Volume 1 begin?
So the idea for the series started back in 2019. So also kind of a full circle moment being at Tribeca, because I stumbled into the immersive section. That is not my background. I'm more in traditional film, TV, theater. And so I was in between screenings at Tribeca and I had some time to kill. And as I said, stumbled into the immersive section and was completely amazed. It reminded me of so much of theater in the round. And I saw the potential of taking these kind of cinematic ideas and applying it to the medium, and then sought out people who were more native in the platform and met my co-creator of the series. We essentially developed the Reimagined series and pitched it to Meta, who was kind enough to take it on and be both our studio and distributor. And so we were greenlit. Yeah, we were greenlit. Let me think now. June 2021. I gave birth August 2021. We went into pre-production on Volume 1 October 2021, and then premiered in Venice August 2022.
Wait a second. Baby Venice. That's all I heard. How did you do that?
I don't know. I don't know. No, you know what, it was very funny because in the moment, like during, um, like the 3 o'clock in the morning feedings and all of that, I was literally on Pinterest and I'm feeding the baby, breastfeeding the baby in one hand and like on Pinterest with the other, like saving ideas or, chatting about film references and things like that, pulling different references for volume one. And now it's funny. Now it's a funny story. But at the time, I don't know. I guess you just do it. And when it's something you really enjoy working on, naps are a beautiful thing, and you become extremely efficient with time. And what is sleep anyway? You know what I mean?
I mean, I think you have to kind of put sleep to the wayside when when you have a baby. From what I hear, I mean, God bless you. Sleep is the baby, right?
Yeah,
So,
exactly. So
yeah. So you basically had two births, essentially. I mean, in my eyes, you had these
I
two
did,
large projects.
I did in mine as well. And with our animation studio from volume one, as we were getting closer to the deadline, we often would joke that the Reimagined series was keeping me awake at night more than the baby was.
Wow.
Getting it done in time. Is it good? Is there a story here? All of these kinds of things. As I said, I had never worked in the medium before. It was my first go, and it was my directorial debut. So it was really challenging in a lot of ways, but exciting and thrilling. And it was one of the most exhausting years of my life, but also definitely the best so far.
So
It
the
was
balance
really,
is there.
yeah, it was really, you know, emotionally fulfilling in terms of this new chapter and having the baby and sort of jumping headfirst into that, and then creatively fulfilling. Also, my first time working in animation, which is really just if you could dream it, we can do it kind of thing. And
Wow.
the really cool thing about the Reimagined series in general is it is an anthology series, so each volume is unique into itself. It takes place in a different part of the world. It's a different story. It has a different art style, animation style, all of that. But what the one unifying thing is that it's completely hand painted and animated in VR using a platform called Quill. So just watching these artists bring, this creative vision to life has been really inspiring, and watching them all do it by hand is amazing.
So what a time to premiere something like this, because AI is vamping up, and we're doing the contracts in the industry right now about AI, and this is the beginning of that. So you're entering it at a perfect time, in my opinion. And you did animation, but you will be able to put people in there too. People think they're going to be erased, which isn't true. And what you hired a ton of voiceover actors, right? Artists that did the
Yeah.
artwork and production folks. So what was it like working with the, I guess, the cast and crew, and how do you feel about entering the AI realm?
Well, it's this kind of thing, and I speak to people who, because I am a film nerd. I am a Turner Classic Movies nerd. I love old cinema. In terms of story, I cut my teeth at the Actors Studio drama school as an actor, but studying with these amazing playwrights, some of whom were Pulitzer Prize winning. So I always say to people that ask me that this medium is not here to replace. It's here to be another way to tell a story, right? There are some stories that should be more of a live theatrical experience. There are some stories that would do better as a television show, some stories that are meant to be a film, and some stories that are meant to be completely immersive. And within that, even if when you say immersive, that's just an umbrella, then there's all of these, there are all of these different ways to experience that. So ours is what's called 6 Degrees of Freedom. It's a little bit more passive, like we don't have hand tracking or direct interactivity. It's just more of an immersive short film is a better way to describe it. But in terms of all of that, yeah, I feel really passionately about this medium being right for this series and for this story, because it is, from my point of view, almost like when you were a child being told a story and the story happens all around you. We're recreating that, in my opinion. And so it was also really inspiring to hear for volume 1 and also volume 2, the actors auditioning, you know, and hearing them bring these, especially as an actor, it's always incredible to work with good actors and to hear what they bring to the table and how they can really make dialogue jump off the page or fill in the gaps, in case there is a, you know, sometimes they find a gap in story that you didn't even know was there until you hear them read it, and it's just inspiring. And the other thing is, for each volume, we're also working with an almost completely unique animation team. For volume 1, we worked with Studio Syro, who is famous in the immersive space for their series Tales from Soda Island. And for volume 2, we did have some crossover artists, but it was also, we went more with an indie team, not with a formal studio, and that had its own style. And now again for volume 3, which we're currently in production on actively, we have a different animation team once again. So again, pulling from different people in order to enhance the specific story that we're telling. I think it's always just about the story first.
I love everything you just said. I think it's incredible that you've done all this since 2019, you said. And then I'm going to tell people that, because people are terrified of AI and virtual space, and to tell them that the story could be told in these different mediums is important, because we lose track of the options and we stay narrow-minded and, oh, a story, this is how it's going to be commandeered or taken over. And I love that. That's a great description. And I watched the preview for both of the projects you have, and it's great sound, great quality, the color scheme, and the voice. You said the voices are so powerful, and I would love to try it on VR, because it makes you want to. It makes you want to get the headset. And so say I'm at home, an audience member, what do I need to do to watch your projects?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in order to watch it immersively, volume 1 has already been released on MetaQuest TV, which is their immersive TV platform. And volume 2 will be released on MetaQuest TV later on in 2023. We can't quite say the release date yet. And but in order to watch it, it's available for free on that platform. I think that's also really important to note. And you do need to own a MetaQuest headset, either a MetaQuest 1, a MetaQuest 2, or of course now they have the Pro. And yeah, you do need to have a headset in order to experience it immersively. But once you do, if you do have that headset, it's fairly user friendly to jump on there and see it.
Is it very pricey or reasonable, do you think?
The headsets?
Yeah.
I mean, they're reasonable compared to what Apple just announced.
Oh my God, that's so crazy. Yeah, it's so wild.
So I'm really interested in the Apple headset as well. I'm just kind of following along and gathering information. I've yet to form an opinion about it, but yeah, compared to that price point, it's pretty reasonable. It's a few $100s last time I looked.
Well, it'll get lower in price. It's new and it's upcoming, but once they get their network established, I'm sure these things will be like 40, 50. That's my guesstimate for the next coming years, But
Yeah.
very cool. You're a writer on the first one? That's incredible.
Yeah, so I'm a co-creator of the series, and I wrote and made my directorial debut with the first volume 1, Nisa. Yes.
What's the writing process like? Is it your first one, and how did that go for you?
Well, yeah, it was my first time working in animation and working immersively. So I was pulling more from, I was trying to incorporate, as I said, cinematic techniques, but I was really thinking of it in terms of theater in the round, just because that's how I could grasp onto it. Just this kind of 360 view and how we were handling cuts and transitions, and thinking about it theatrically helped just focus my brain when I was writing. But it's not my first time writing in general. As I said, I started on the film and TV production side of things. I was working for Scott Rudin for a while as a development intern there, and sort of cut my teeth. And then pivoted and went to the actor's studio and drama school and studied as an actor there. Kind of lived la vie boheme in the village, studying in the village for a few years. Continue to work as an actor, but then after that, going back to sort of my roots in development, and then at the same time starting to write sketch, studying improv, studying at UCB, the Upright Citizens Brigade, and writing sketch and learning about sketch there. And then I had, and then a very funny thing happened. I submitted this short idea I had to Columbia University. They were taking applications for their television pilot intensive program. And I was accepted, which was very amazing and surprising. So I studied there and developed the short film idea out to be a television series, and just kind of got a crash course in television writing there, and then just kept going, just kept writing. I was named by Austin Film Festival one of their screenwriters to watch last year, which was amazing. And my short was able to premiere at Austin, so that was exciting as well. And then, then jumping into this as on the animated side has been really thrilling.
Well, brava. It sounds like I'm talking to a legend here, honestly. And it didn't happen overnight for you, though, right? I mean, you have the tools, theater, improv. How long have you been on this track? Because it's probably sounds like it's starting to pay off.
Oh, I appreciate you saying that. I think I'm just trying to push a very big boulder up the mountain, and recently made a little bit of headway. And I think the other thing is I'm extremely stubborn, for better or for worse. So I don't know that it's any kind of measure of talent more than just pig-headedness, or refusing to quit. But no, it's funny. I've always been in this world, and to some extent. My father was extremely creative and very funny, and as a hobby would write, and both of my parents are passed, so looking through his writings and things that even were published was really interesting and amazing, even as an adult, and finding different layers of nuance and in what he was doing, and just how funny he was naturally. I had to go to school for so long to get like any kind of comedic timing that he just had. And then my mom was really very into theater, Broadway, anything, any form of culture, opera, the arts. She was cutting coupons and taking us to all of these things throughout my childhood. I also grew up as a dancer, as a hoofer, a tap dancer, and competed in dance competitions nationally. And so I think when I write, there's also like a sense of rhythm in everything I do. Like I can hear the rhythm of a scene pretty naturally. And and then I just rewrite until I bang my head against the wall. That's really
That's the process.
That's the secret. And then I put it away and I pick it up months later, and I think, what were you thinking when you wrote this? And then, you know, you do it all over again, and that's the beauty of it, right?
Well, it sounds like you had great parents. God bless you. God bless them. They gave you a great foundation. And I know dancing is one of the hardest talents. You have to have a fire to be a dancer. It's so physical, right? And driven. So that sounds like a drive you have. Competitive, excuse me. Tap, whoa. But that's very cool. You have a great it sounds like you have a great background of education in the arts in general. So but rhythm, the universe is rhythm. I always tell people, right? There's a heartbeat to the reality we're in. So if you have that, I think you're in the money. Miss
Well,
Meta over here. You know?
I mean, certainly trying, but yeah, I think there was something about tap and the rhythm of things, and the precision, and just that natural music that happens, and that percussiveness to it that I always responded to. I started studying, I think, when I was 3 or 4, and that was just because my older sister did it and I wanted to be exactly like her. And then I started to be drawn more and more to that discipline of dance specifically. It just felt more in line with, as you said, like the rhythm of the earth, of what's around us. I was just very responsive to it, essentially, and I hear it. And actually, this project I'm working on now, that's outside of the Meta project, another project I'm writing, which is a dark comedy about postpartum, has this tap percussiveness that happens in the background. It's part of the character and part of the environment, and yeah, and part of the story.
A quick side note, the movie Tar with Kate Blanchett. I think Todd Phillips wrote it. He said every character
Yeah.
had a tempo, and she was 120, I think was Kate's tempo.
Oh, that's brilliant. I have to read about that. I didn't know that. But it makes perfect sense. And oh, that's really
Oh no,
interesting.
it
Yeah,
wasn't
that's
Todd
fantastic.
Phillips. I forget. I forget who it was, but it was brilliant. So yeah, but just to add to that, but I also so the first thing you wrote was volume 1, and I saw there were like elements to it, and the fears I saw in the trailer, like there were fears discussed, and also in the second project, fears were highlighted. How did, I mean, that plays on, I guess, overcoming challenges, right? Speak a little on the fears aspect of the scripts.
Sure. So I wrote volume 1, as you know, and that thematically, so the Reimagined series in general is taking these lesser known fables, folktales, mythologies from around the world, and reimagining them through a gender inclusive lens. So volume 1, Nisa, is a re-envisioning of this lesser known Brothers Grimm story called The Tale of the Boy That Went Forth to Learn What Fear Is. Super catchy. And basically, I read it and remembered this time I had spent in this witch museum, where it was talking about the age in which women become powerful and dangerous, and that happens sort of in those tween years. And so when the idea was, if we can control these young girls at this time, they would never come into their power. And so when I read the title for that Brothers Grimm story, I was reminded of that. And it felt like thematically what this story should be was a story about fear conditioning in young girls and female self-actualization. So I sort of ran with that, and then out of that came this idea of this deconstructed witch, almost borrowing from Cubist elements stylistically in terms of designing these characters. They are not human. They are refracted in terms of how they appear to us. And again, similar to this kind of Cubist mentality. And yeah, borrowing thematically from that kind of fear conditioning and arcing the story. This little girl, Nisa, she loses her best friend named Broom and goes out on a journey hoping to find him, but instead is confronted with this idea of fear and intuition, which she learns how to lean into in order to save her village from the wrath of this like evil monster who's essentially the sum of all fears. So, the story being about that and allowing the space for Nisa to find her chant, to merge with her intuition and not run away from fear, but rather embrace it, harness it, and learn to speak her truth from that place, because it's an ever-changing thing, intuition and fear, essentially. And then for volume 2, we switch gears, and volume 2, Mahal, is inspired by Philippine mythology, and it's about these four demigod siblings who have lost their father, the all creator god Bathala, and are each dealing with their grief in their own way. So it's more about the theme of grief and family structure and how to embrace that grief in order to move on and lean on your family, whether chosen or born into, in order to move on in life. And again, similar to volume 1, grief is with you always. It's, I believe, especially having lost both my parents, that is unexpressed love. So it's about having it with you and working through it from there.
Very cool. Great descriptions. So your audience is children, or who do you want to receive these messages?
No, so it's really it's an ageless audience, we say. It's really, for anybody. Volume 1, I always think it's maybe a little bit more of that Tim Burton animated audience, maybe 9 and above, because there are some, darker elements that are happening there that could be a little scary. And then for volume 2, it's really an ageless audience, and I think anybody can identify. It's one of those things, or what we're trying to do is have elements that exist on one level for a certain audience's age, and then maybe nuances and jokes and references that exist for an adult audience as well.
And you say gender inclusive. Is that like non-binary, trans? What's going on there?
Yeah, so that's our hope, is to explore these stories from different, perspectives. Especially when we're going around the world, there are so many stories where characters are non-binary, or are trans before there was a name to it, or all of these things. And so our hope is that when we take these stories, we're making sure that every character also has agency. I think that's really important. There are a lot of characters in older stories as well that they are either two-dimensional, or they were given to you as a prize, or they're the butt of the jokes. And so it's when we're shining a light on these stories to make sure that, for example, in the Brothers Grimm story, and in our volume 3 story that takes place in southern Nigeria, in both of those stories, the female character was given at the end as a prize. So we're sort of removing that construct, and then making sure that all of these characters have agency. And our hope is also, as we travel around the world, to explore these ideas of gender identity and through the lens of these different cultures.
That's so cool. It's very inspiring, and I love the diversity. And I just a curiosity, how do you do the casting for projects like this?
Oh, we work with a fantastic casting and VO recording agency called Side. And they have been with us from the beginning and really have leaned on them in terms of finding talent. And there were a few times where they said to us, I said, oh, I'm not sure about this particular actor. And they said, wait, let me get a reread from them. We know them. We've worked with them on other projects. They're phenomenal and proved themselves right and wound up casting, said actor down the line. So really grateful for them, because my knowledge of VO actors, especially in the animated space, is quite limited. But it's just amazing to watch some of these actors work. We had, I'll give you an example. In volume 1, the bat, Blue, who is Nisa's, spiritual guide, and similar to a black cat, her familiar spirit. And I felt very strongly that I wanted an actor to play this character. And so they had found this actor, Roger L. Jackson, and he's just phenomenal. And we had exactly 1 hour to get everything out of him. And there are no lines of dialogue. It's all just squeaking. And the parameters were so strict, because I didn't want it to be a bat squeaking, because that's so annoying. It's hurtful in the ears. And then if you're spatializing sound, imagine that squeaking. So it had to have a roundness to it. It had to have an arc, all of these things. And he just came in and just like nailed it, was just knocking it out of the park. My another actor, Alex Cazares, who plays the titular character in Nisa, she is Nisa, was so amazing. And what I loved about her voice was the edge to it. She has a scrappiness, a raspiness to her voice. I didn't want anything that sounded too Disney, too Pixar. I wanted it to sound a little rough, not your stereotypical idea of a little girl, someone who didn't have all of these gender norms put on her, and her clothes are too big and her hair is textured and messy, and she's just living her life, right? And Alex brought that more than I could have imagined. It was really inspiring. And same for volume 2. The actors who came in, really just one take wonders, all of them.
I don't have the headset yet, but I was able to watch all the trailers, and really those brief things I've seen make me want to see it. They're very passionate, these actors, and being an actor, you can see that they're vessels, and that's so cool that you were able to witness the whole process.
Oh yeah, it was really educational as well. I mean, I learned a ton from the process each time. Each time was very unique. Even volume 3, we've worked with actors already for volume 3, and I won't say too much, but there were a few actors where we heard the role one specific way, and then we heard a particular actor's audition and said, no, actually, that's it. That's it. It was nothing like we imagined. But that was exactly who that character was. And I think the other thing that's amazing is that we're really working with actors who do voiceover. Like they're really working with a refined instrument in terms of their voice, but they know story beats, they know process, they're coming in making huge choices. Most of the actors we're working with, if you Google them, have worked in all different types of either mediums or all different types of animated series or films, and have cut their teeth in different ways. And same thing for our art department and our art directors. They've also worked in 2D as well as in VR, and you really feel that, and they understand story. Also, having the script meetings with Studio Cyro or Lucas Smarker, who was our volume 2 art director, and our volume 3 art director as well. These are people who just love storytelling and are consuming it in every way possible, and their references are coming from, there were people referencing old film and animated, and any type of genre, any type of content. So it's really inspiring to work with people who are so committed to telling a good story.
Well, and as a producer, you need that strong team. So it sounds like you were blessed to have one. And I pray for you going forward that you continue to have these great teams.
Thank you. Yeah. And what's so cool is that it's a different team every time. So we've been very lucky in that each time the team we've collaborated with are really bringing their A game to the table. So it's a testament to them that these stories are coming together the way they are.
And mythology, who doesn't love mythology, right?
Right. I do. I certainly do. I love these stories, in these the oral storytelling traditions, and especially, doing a lot of research. Michaela, obviously, more so, and Michaela is Filipino American. And so she sort of took charge in terms of that deep dive into mythology. But I went down that rabbit hole with her. And it was really interesting just to see the similarities and differences from what I knew about, Greek or Roman mythology, seeing how that compared, and then seeing how it differed, and how, our retelling of this particular Philippine mythological story um, took shape based on our research of all these different, because the Philippines are rich with different cultures, languages, all of that. There isn't one, language or one idea, especially pre-colonized Philippines. So it was really very interesting to sort of take that deep dive and to see that in some versions of the mythology, the heavens or the gods were under the ground, and and things were, but like it was really just fascinating to sort of compare and contrast. It's my long-winded way of saying that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot more to say about the whole world of the fables and folklore as well. But we'll wrap up a little bit. I just want to know about your production company. What's it called again? And then what kind of visions do you have for yourself? You're already very busy, which I see, and that's wonderful.
Oh, yeah. So my production company is called Very Cavalier Productions, and it is very much a play on the meaning of my last name. And so that was founded in 2019, really as a way to bring everything, all of the different aspects of what I do under one umbrella, and shine a light on different stories that are maybe from unique perspectives, and whatever that means, and helping to bring those stories to light, helping to bring different stories I'm working on to light. And really what I'm trying to do is to be much more liquid in terms of the way we tell a story, the platform in which we choose to tell a story. So, versus specializing in narrative podcast or documentary, or television or film or immersive, just kind of letting the story dictate what medium we should use to tell it. And that's been my goal with it so far. And so it seemed natural that I would jump in head first and try to walk the walk in the immersive space, and learn about it, because as I said, I knew nothing. So I spent a lot of time doing a lot of Googling and speaking to a lot of very generous people who knew a lot more than I did.
Well, it sounds like you do the research and you deserve the work. So keep up the good work. And I can't wait to see you grow, honestly. I think you have a great thing going here, and you're very determined and positive. So God bless you on this path. Good luck with it.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. And also thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it, sitting down with me today. And it's always fun to talk about the work. You spend so much time stressing to see whether a story is there and whether something is going to work. It's always fun on the other side to talk about the process and how messy it is for anyone else who's going through it. You know, it's I think looking back on it, there are things I would always do differently. And I think that's also really important to note. But just being able to talk with someone about the messiness of it and what worked, what didn't work, and that it's not a perfect process, and nor is it a science. You know, we're doing these 3 volumes, and none of them have been the same, even though the parameters are the same, right? We're working with Meta. You know, all of that is the same. They're roughly the same amount of time. You know, Michaela and I are both the co-creators of the series, but each one has had its unique set of challenges that we're trying to navigate. So I think that's also really important to note whenever sitting down and talking about the work.
Well, yeah, the people who watch these interviews are generally either fans or production people, right? So I hope they can watch it and they will gain a lot. I know that this interview was very informative. So you're very eloquent in the way you speak. You're an awesome lady. And congrats on having baby and production company. Much strength to you, for real.
Thank you very much. And thank you again for sitting down. It's been a real pleasure.
So we'll see Reimagined Volume 3 at the next Tribeca, potentially, huh?
Potentially. We're working on it now. It's going to premiere sometime in 2024. And we'll definitely keep you posted once we know more.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you for joining us at Breezeway Productions. I'm Christina. Julie, you are a pleasure, and I'm very excited to watch you go. Truly,
Thank
Julie.
you so much. I appreciate it.